Hello and welcome to this brief session to demonstrate this workshop, sort of demonstrate a cappella vocal, right, for our RAT students and RAT sessions. Rehearsal House Nigeria Perfect Mcsnup here it is. So we'll be using On a Hill Far Away, the hymn, and I'm going to just try to describe some things in the process of doing the actual solo work myself so that students can get certain clues on how a cappella vocals works. All right, so here's the first thing first. For an a cappella work, it's important. Solo a cappella means there is no instrument accompanying the solo singer. That means also there is no harmony, no second or third parts of harmony, so to speak, and you're just going to be having the plain melody. All right, now the plain melody, just plain, it's going to be some sort of less artistic. So it means there's supposed to be quite a few as relevant as should be embellishments. All right, so you are going to have to tweak the melody somewhat a little bit. So where you have on a hill far away stood an old rugged cross. Now I've just done some little adjustment on old rugged cross. Since it's solo, no instrument accompanying, I'm not going to go in the regular time. I have the regular pause the way it should be. I'm going to just make it simply mine. Hope we understand that. Now, one of the most important things in to note in a cappella solo works like this is the need for not embellishment now, but the need for uh, uh, mild artistry, some sort of you have to convey quite some good emotions to it, some techniques too. For instance, it is very essential that open throat, air, and airy singing, or what you may want to call vocal acoustic vocal reverbs, be observed. On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross, an emblem of suffering and shame. Now, this is typically different from what I did the first time, so I hope we take note of some of the differences here. I've just sort of introduced a couple of technique to it, to the entire thing. On a hill far away, as opposed to taking some good measure of air inside, good air intake. Remember our breathing cycles for those who've been in the class, who've been in my live on-site classes, okay, or seen maybe one or two of the online classes where this was described. The breathing cycle starts with inhalation, intake of air, and then the lungs gets filled up with sufficient air required to sing the phrase in view. This whole thing is a whole lot of brain, mind processing things at the speed of light, if you would. Intake of air, and then the phrase is already known by the mind. The singer's mind already determines, it has a soul activity, what the phrase is. The phrase I want to sing is on a hill far away, for instance. And now also the mind is going to determine whether it's going to be employing some support at some point. Okay. On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross. Now, thus far, not much of support has been introduced, but first principle first. Diaphragmatic singing has been observed, you see, and a good a good control, a use of air, and a little bit of other techniques there. So now the countenance, or what you may call the emotions of the singing, is also quite important. So every phrase has its own countenance, and you have to choose that. You have to determine that. What is the countenance of the first phrase? On a hill far away stood an old rugged cross. And then the next says, explains it. In case you don't get the countenance of that lyrics, an emblem of suffering and shame. So you see that it's some very, very, very heart moving kind lyrics. Okay, so this is something I've mentioned several times. It's quite a very, very, very disastrous thing, singing words you don't mean. Okay, that is something in one of our lyrics, Rhythm for the Soul. Singing words you do not mean. Your society is the proof that you reap what you sow. And that's just what it is. Generally, you look up upon society today and you realize there is so much words losing their real meaning. Folks say, for instance, I love you, and it means totally the opposite of that. But why? Musicians have been singing it for all these years and meaning the opposite of that. So, why wouldn't society become the very, very expression or reflection of the singer's mentality or singer's spirit? So, you have to be careful and watch that. So, you have to understand the first phrase, the connection to the next. On the hill far away stood an old rugged cross, the emblem of suffering and shame. And let exactly have that experience. Oh, on a hill far away. Good. Now be careful. I'm teaching, I'm illustrating here. So I'm doing certain things which you just don't necessarily have to do. Okay, so you have to make choices out of the things I do. You are the one in performance. Every embellishment that detracts from the meaning of the song is the wrong choice of artistry. Always take note of that. If you choose an embellishment style, a technique to embellish your work, to beautify it, and it detracts from the meaning, know that it's the wrong choice. Okay, so the meaning of the song, the lyrics, has to be perfectly conveyed in the artistry. All right, I'm going to be stopping here today. Just wanted to do some little uh, talk, discussion, and lesson on this very important thing. Hopefully, in one of our video classes, short these days, we're going to talk more and give some much more practical. Uh, what you can now see how I'm doing it of all these things. Until then, do have a blissful rehearsing time, and thank you.